Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Fantastic Flatulent Fart Brothers Go to the Moon, a spaced-out adventure that truly stinks, by M.D. Whalen. Narrated by Peter Berkrot. Chapter 1. Second Sheep. Willy wished he had someone to play games with besides his big brother Peter. Right now, Peter was picking a thick brown scab off his leg, when he should have been concentrating on the giant, saber-toothed worm monsters battling the transgalactic Imperial infantry. Gross! Willy dropped his game controller in disgust. You let one get away. Oh, yeah? This'll stop him. Peter lifted one butt cheek and let out a blustery paint peeler of a fart. That called for revenge. Willy raised his rear end and spewed a dirty, green booty blast, so rotten-smelling it could have melted steel, or one of the Dorlusian robot gladiators that had just stomped into view. Now you're the one who lost us points, Peter said. Just for that, eat this! He tore another scab from his knee and spun it at him. Willy ducked just in time. Uh-oh, Peter said, his nose pointing behind Willy. The scab stuck to the forehead of their little sister Skylar, who didn't seem to notice as she skipped happily down the stairs. She hopped in front of the couch and held out 2 slips of paper. For my special brothers, Skylar said. We don't need toilet paper, Peter said, winking at Willy. This isn't toilet paper, dummy, Skylar said. These are VIP tickets for my kindergarten spring pageant. We're performing Old MacDonald Had a Farm. And what are you, one of the pigs? Peter imitated a snorting hog. Skylar ignored him and stuck up her nose. I play lamb number 2, the second most important sheep in the whole play. Hey, know what a sheep fart sounds like? Peter squeezed out a honk that sounded more goosey than sheepy. Don't be disgusting. You better come. Skylar set the tickets between them on the couch. Oh, yeah, one more thing. I need you to babysit Squeaky. Squeaky was Skylar's pet hamster. All he did all day was crack sunflower seeds and run inside his wheel. Once he'd bitten Willy's finger, one of the most painful experiences in his life. Though to his credit, Squeaky often lived up to his name, with hilarious little hamster farts. We actors are required at rehearsal, Skylar said. She placed a grapefruit-sized clear plastic hamster ball on the floor. So please look after... A terrifying explosion cut her off. See what you made happen? Peter tossed his controller on the floor. You let the transgalactic star station blow up. Big red words appeared on the screen. You lost the battle. Go back to level 12. Before either boy could punish their sister with a lethal fart, she was out the door. With Peter's scab still stuck to her head, at least. Who wants to sit through some stupid kidney garden pageant to watch her bleat like a sheep? Peter said. Willy agreed. We need to get away, as far away as possible. Peter switched the television to a regular station, but it was just the news. He was about to press another channel when Willy said, "Hold it!" The news showed a rocket on a launch pad, while the reporter reported, "First manned mission to the moon in 40 years. The public is invited to meet the astronauts today, just before liftoff, at the Gasserton Space Command Center Auditorium." "Cool! That's in the next town," Willy said. Peter was already out of his seat. "Let's go." They packed snacks for the ride over. Nacho corn chips, refried beans, hard-boiled eggs, plus a bag of leftover onion rings. Then they ran down the street to catch the bus. "Wait," Willy said. "We promised to babysit the hamster." "I don't remember any promise," Peter said. Willy looked away, so his brother wouldn't see his tear-filled eyes. They couldn't leave poor little Squeaky all alone in the house. What if a pet thief broke in? Willy dashed home, scooped up the hamster bowl, and reached the bus stop just in time. "Do you see what I see?" Peter said. Willy saw. The bus was jam-packed with student ballerinas. They settled in the back seat. "Pass the eggs and beans and onion rings," Peter said. 10 blocks later, they hammered out nose-melting, eye-watering fart bombs that turned the air in the bus grungy yellow. One block after that, their butts hit the sidewalk. The next bus came along after a few minutes. This one was filled with an old ladies' knitting club. Willy and Peter gulped down another can of beans. This was turning out to be a truly fun day. Chapter 2. The Evil Doorman. A crooked-nosed doorman stopped them at the Space Command Center entrance. "Got tickets?" "No one told us we needed tickets," Willy said. "Tough luck. All sold out," the doorman said. Willy was about to cry, but Peter winked at him and told the guard, "Sure we got tickets." Peter pulled out the paper that Schuyler had given him earlier, and Willy did the same. They started to walk past, until monstrous hands gripped their shoulders. "Says right here these are for Old MacDonald," the doorman said. "Not Old Man in the Moon. Anyway, no pets." He pointed to a sign which read, "No animals allowed, including snakes, spiders, and hamsters." "Now scram!" The doorman balled up the tickets and tossed them aside. Peter led Willy around the corner, where they hid behind a tree. "Time to use our foolproof method for getting past guards. Start eating." Peter opened the bag of cold, greasy onion rings and poured bean dip all over them. For good measure, he shoved hard-boiled eggs in his and Willy's mouths. A few minutes later, they were back in front of the doorman. "Hey, I thought I told you guys." Willy and Peter dropped their pants and pumped out loud, bubbly brown fart blasts that smelled like a garbage dump had exploded. Some late arrivals ran away, but the doorman just stood there. "That's nothing," he told them. "Just had my lunch at a taco truck." He bent over, aiming his rear end like a cannon. A fart struck Willy in the face like a boxing glove, sending him somersaulting backwards down the steps. "Ah!" Willy screamed. "Ugh!" Peter followed, gagging and retching. The doorman laughed like an evil troll. "Har, har, har! Don't let me catch you brats showing your faces, or butts, around here again. Willy wanted to cry. His chance of a lifetime to meet real live astronauts ruined. Peter patted Willy's shoulder and said not to worry. They would find a way in. They snuck around the side of the building and tried a few doors. At one, another guard yelled at them. The rest of the doors were locked. Finally, they came to a door where they heard voices inside. Peter had an idea. He put Squeaky and his hamster ball right next to the door. He knocked. Then they both ran and hid behind a bush. The door opened a crack. A man's head peered out, looked right and left, shrugged, then went back inside and let the door close behind him. Except it didn't shut completely. It was stuck against the hamster ball. Willy and Peter tiptoed over and listened until the voices and footsteps faded. They were in. Chapter 3. Rocket Man. Willy and Peter crept through an empty white hallway, past unmarked white doors. Hearing more voices ahead, they ducked into the nearest room. It looked like the changing room at the school gym, only without the sweaty smell. Peter pointed to the tall lockers lining one wall. "Let's hide in there." He swung open a locker door. "Wow," Peter and Willy said at the same time. They were staring at a big, white, astronaut spacesuit. The next locker contained another. "Let's try them on," Peter said, dragging out the first spacesuit. Willy thought this was a great idea, and a bad idea at the same time. They were in deep trouble just by being here. But who could resist the fun? The second spacesuit was stiff and a bit heavy, and way too big for him. But once he clipped on the helmet, he felt like a real astronaut. This was awesome! They waved their arms like space aliens and made silly faces at each other. Peter's mouth puckered. His eyebrows jammed together. Willy knew what was coming. Peter's fart reverberated through his suit and echoed off the walls. Of course, Willy had to fart in response. Then he wished he hadn't eaten those hard-boiled eggs. Willy struggled to breathe inside the sealed spacesuit. Where was the oxygen tank on this thing? Suddenly, the voices in the hallway grew louder. They climbed out of the suits as quickly as they could, then clamped the helmets back on, so no telltale smell would escape, and shoved the suits back in the lockers. There was a toilet stall in the corner. With nowhere else to hide, they shut themselves inside. "The hamster ball!" Peter whispered. Willy rushed out, grabbed Squeaky, and returned just in time. The outside door opened, and he heard two men speaking. They were the astronauts. "Commander, how many minutes they keeping us on stage?" one said. "Think about 10, the other said. "Got a full house. Though I hear a class of ballerinas and a ladies' knitting club cancel due to sudden illness. So it's mostly primary school brats." "Yeah, gonna be the same old dumb questions. What happens if you fart in your spacesuit? What happens if you need to barf in space? What if you have to scratch your butt during a spacewalk?" Inside the toilet stall, Willy nodded. Those were the exact questions he'd been planning to ask. He heard the clack of the lockers opening, the spacesuits being taken out, some muttering about a faint smell. Heard the astronauts climbing into their suits and the snap of the helmets being fastened. This was followed by muffled coughing inside the spacesuits, which turned into gasping and gagging. Willy turned to Peter, who looked just as frightened as he himself felt. They peeked under the toilet stall door. Both astronauts staggered around the room, gurgling and retching, desperately trying to undo the fasteners on their helmets. One tripped over a changing bench, fell flat on his back, and lay still. The other spun in circles, yanking open one of his helmet clasps. But it was too late. His knees folded, his body twisted, eyes rolled up in his head. He crumpled against the toilet stall door. "We're in humongous trouble," Willy said. "They're going to come looking for them." "Maybe not. Give me a hand," Peter said. They opened the stall door and dragged the nearest astronaut inside. He was stone-cold unconscious. They propped him up into a sitting position on the toilet seat, then latched the door shut and crawled out underneath. The other astronaut lay sprawled across the floor. Peter made sure he was still zonked out. Then they removed his helmet and pulled the astronaut out of the spacesuit. "Ew," Willy said. The astronaut wore nothing but stretchy, long underwear. Squeaky came over and checked out the helmet, as if it was another hamster ball. It was so cute, Willy took out his phone to snap a picture. But just then, new footsteps sounded in the hallway. They shoved the half-naked astronaut in the locker. "Only one way out of here," Peter said, nodding at the spacesuit. "You get in first, and I'll stand on your shoulders." "No way," Willy said. "You're heavier than me." "Yeah, but I look older. Stupider, too. Be quiet. Tell you what, we'll take turns. You go first on the bottom, and later we switch places." Willy's eyes teared up at the stink inside the suit, like a family of skunks had died in there, which Willy, of course, recognized as his own stink. That was at least better than breathing in his brother's stale farts. Peter handed down the hamster ball and the bag with the rest of their snacks. The footsteps paused at the door. Peter crawled into the spacesuit and pulled on the helmet, just as the door flew open. "Showtime, gentlemen," said a man's voice. "Phew! What's that smell?" Chapter 4. Space Puke. "How you doing, Commander?" the man said, not realizing that Peter and Willy were inside the spacesuit. "Hey, no wonder it stinks in here." Willy couldn't see, but he heard the man knock on the toilet stall door. "Lieutenant Sampson, finish your business quick, then suit up and come to the auditorium. I'll escort Commander Major to the stage to get started." He slapped the back of the spacesuit. "Let's get out of here, Commander. Lucky you've got a helmet on. Yuck, what a stench!" Between Peter's weight on his shoulders and the fact that his feet didn't reach the end of the space boots, Willy had a tough time walking. He slid one leg forward, then the other, while Peter whispered, "Turn right here. Turn left there." Meanwhile, Squeaky rolled his ball in circles around Willy's neck. Willy wished they'd never gotten into this predicament. He wished he'd never listened to his brother. Ew! Did Peter just blast a silent stinker in his face? Right now he wished he'd never been born. Soon he heard clapping and cheering. They were on the stage. "We're dead men," Willy said. "Shh! Just 2 more steps. Yeah, now turn left. Okay, stop." Peter waved to the crowd. The cheering grew louder. Then a woman introduced Astronaut Tom Major, commander of the first manned moon mission of this century. "Commander, are you able to take a bow in that suit?" "Please no," Willy said. "Come on, we've got to kill 10 minutes," Peter whispered. Peter leaned forward and promptly lost his balance. Willy grabbed Peter's legs, but it was too late. The space helmet smacked against the podium. Squeaky rolled around Willy's face, chattering so loud it was picked up by the microphone and broadcast through the auditorium speakers. The audience laughed while Peter straightened up. The woman announcer said, "Why don't we open up for questions? The boy in the fourth row with the green shirt." Captain, what happens when you have to fart in space?" Peter put on his deepest adult voice impersonation. "You mean like this?" "Don't you dare," Willy said. Peter dared. He honked out a blast that sounded like a brass band and smelled like rotten dinosaur eggs. The audience roared hysterically, which was lucky, since nobody could hear Willy's gagging. "That does it," Willy hissed between coughs. "Time to switch places." It was just starting to get fun. Peter and Willy scrambled and clawed their way over each other. It must have looked really weird, like the astronaut was having convulsions, because some girls screamed. "Commander, are you all right?" the woman announcer said. "Sure," Willy said in his deepest voice, which wasn't deep at all. Got a wedgie in my undies. Hard to shake loose in a spacesuit." Willy got his first look at the auditorium. Almost every seat was filled with kids. He recognized some from his school. If they only knew. He guessed they probably had another 7 minutes left. What if someone asked a science question or something? He had to fill the time to avoid that. He also wanted revenge. "But getting back to farts," he said. "Sometimes astronauts fart like this." Peter's protest was drowned by Willy's grand performance, leading with a high squealer, down to a splattering lawnmower engine, then ending with a deep, watery butt gargle. Peter swooned beneath him. Served him right. The audience went mad. Adults screamed. Kids fell off their seats. Hundreds of people let off their own farts. Willy eyed the wall clock. 5.5 minutes to go. "Enough on that topic," the woman speaker said. "Another question?" 100 hands shot in the air. Willy was about to point to a girl, then realized she lived just down the street and might recognize his voice. He pointed to another girl with frizzy hair in a middle row. "Excuse me for asking this, sir, but, what happens when you barf in space?" "You mean like this?" Willy said. Peter pinched Willy's leg really hard and whispered, "I'll kill you!" "Just kidding," said Willy. Everyone laughed. The woman speaker pointed to a boy in a side seat. "What happens if you're out on a spacewalk and your butt itches? How do you scratch it?" 4 minutes to go. Willy couldn't think of an answer. Just then, he felt Squeaky rolling around his feet. "Hamsters! We keep hamsters inside our spacesuits, so when we itch, they can go there and scratch us with their claws." People nodded as if this made sense. A few kids raised their phones to take photos. Just in time, Willy put his hand in front of the visor. What if people enlarged the pictures and recognized his face? "No photos, please, children. You might blind the astronauts," said the woman. "Speaking of which, I've just been told that liftoff to the moon is in 15 minutes. Let's thank Commander Tom Major with a big round of applause." A man tugged Willy's arm and said, "Let's go, Commander. You've got a rocket to catch." Willy thought, what have we gotten ourselves into? Chapter 5 The Emu Lab. A skinny guy with thick black-rimmed glasses introduced himself as Mr. Chan. He led them through a long white hallway that seemed to go on forever. Peter moaned and groaned about all the walking. "No fair," he whispered. "Time to switch places again." "What did you say, Commander?" Chan said. Willy belched his words, hoping it sounded deeper than his little kid voice. You go ahead, Mr. Chan. I need to tie my shoes." "Spacesuits don't have shoelaces," Peter whispered. "Be quiet," Willy said. "Huh? I didn't say anything," Chan said. "But okay, I've got to get to my station. You know the way. End of the hall, turn right, take the elevator." They waited for Chan to leave. Then Willy told Peter, "Turn left." They slipped through a door into a dark room. "What are we going to do?" Willy panted. They both climbed out of the spacesuit. Then Peter switched on the light. "Whoa!" Willy and Peter said at the same time. A sign on the wall said, Extravehicular Mobility Unit, EMU, Experimental Lab. EMU must be what they called spacesuits. The room was full of them. Some were super tall. Others had big round midsections, maybe for pregnant lady astronauts. Some looked like they were straight out of futuristic comic books. "I don't believe this," Peter said. "Look!" He pointed to a spacesuit, that is, EMU, with 4 skinny legs. "This must be for space dogs," Peter said. "Can you imagine chasing a ball in 0 gravity? Or spraying an interstellar fire hydrant," Willy said. But the greatest thing they found was in a side closet. 6 kid-sized suits. Willy tried on the smallest one. It was still a little big, but he could see fine through the helmet. "Hey, this one fits me perfect," Peter said, examining the buttons and controls on his suit. "Wait a second," Willy said. "We need to talk." Willy shivered, maybe from fear, or maybe because the room was ice cold. He wiped his runny nose, then licked the snot from his space glove. "If we go out there, we're in huge trouble. First, we knocked out 2 astronauts. We could go to jail for that." Peter nodded. "True." "And these spacesuits. We could get life sentences for stealing government property." "Uh-huh." "And if we actually go into space, that's driving a spaceship without a license. Add hard labor. Or worse." Peter nodded again. "Could be." "Or we might lose control of the ship and get lost in space, drifting through empty blackness until we starve to death or run out of oxygen. Or get smashed into by an asteroid and explode." Peter nodded once more. "And if we stay on Earth, then we have to watch our sister play as sheep." "Ew," Willy said, strapping on his helmet. "Moon, here we come." Chapter 6. Having a Blast. The hallway was empty. The coast was clear. Willy grabbed the hamster. Peter took their bag of snacks. They ran down the corridor as fast as they could, which wasn't very fast in full spacesuits, then around a corner, into the elevator, and pressed the button for the top platform. When they got out, people were too busy checking computers to notice 2 very short astronauts dashing across the platform into the waiting space capsule. Peter tripped on the way in. Corn chips scattered everywhere. "Quick, close the hatch," Willy said. It took both of them to push the heavy door closed and lock the handle.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?